Namaskar, welcome viewers. It's 9 p.m. You're watching the news on Sansad Television with me, Rajiv Kumar Singh. Details on all the top stories follows the headlines. Alert sounded for 5 Kerala districts after confirmation of first monkeypox infection in the state. Union Health Ministry issues guidelines. At presiding officers' conference, legislators told to desist from interruptions during address by Lok Sabha Speaker, President and Governor. Rankings of country's top institutes release. IIT Madras Best Educational Institute. Indian Institute of Science Bangalore is the best university. IIM Ahmedabad is the best management institute. Rain-related incidents claims over 100 lives in Maharashtra so far. Heavy rains in South Gujarat, Saurashtra region. Situation worsens in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Ranil Wickremesinghe sworn in as the interim president of Sri Lanka, appeals to people to maintain peace. Parliament to convene in Colombo on Saturday. After the headlines, a quick look at some other important news of the day. Prime Minister Modi to inaugurate Bundelkhand Expressway tomorrow. 296-kilometer 4-lane expressway built at a cost of 14,850 crore rupees. Defence Ministry sets up Apex Committee for Performance and Efficiency Audit. Defence Secretary to be chairman. Inputs to help in project planning and execution. Heavy Industries Minister Dr. Mahendra Pandey says country determined to boost cooperation with Shanghai Cooperation Organization play active, positive and constructive role. Ministry of Home Affairs directs state governments to strengthen security arrangements for Kanwar Yatra, citing threat for radical elements. Delhi University to admit 30% extra students in SC and ST categories and 20% under unreserved and OBC categories this year to fill maximum seats in undergraduate courses. Finance Ministry issues simplified regulatory framework for e-commerce exports of jewellery through courier mode. Stresses uniformity in action by customs. Prime Minister Modi to share his thoughts on Mann Ki Baat program on 31st of July. People invited to share their ideas and suggestions on Namo and MyGov apps. Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav attends BRICS Labour and Employment Ministers meeting, promoting green jobs, skills for recovery and protecting workers' rights discussed. Two-day meet of BIMSTEC expert group on cybersecurity cooperation held in New Delhi, focus on action plan to deal with cybersecurity challenges in BIMSTEC region. Astronomers detect mysterious radio bursts with patterns similar to a beating heart. MIT says signals are from a far-away galaxy billions of light years away from Earth. A day after a case of rare monkeypox was detected in the state, Kerala government issued a special alert in 5 districts. This is the first case of infection in the country. The State Health Minister Veena George said an alert was sounded in Thiruvananthapuram, Kollam, Pathamanthita, Alappuzha and Kottayam as the people from these districts had travelled with the infected person in Sharjah-Thiruvananthapuram Indigo flight. 164 passengers and 6 flight crew members were on the plane. The minister said 11 people who sat in the seats next to the infected person are on a high-risk contact list. Health authorities have asked passengers on the flight to get themselves tested and report any symptoms of infection within 21 days. Phone numbers of many people are not available, so they are being traced with the help of police. Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu and Assam Chief Minister Hemant Biswa Sarma met on Friday in Namsai district in Arunachal Pradesh. They announced the signing of Namsai Declaration to resolve the border dispute between the two northeastern states. Addressing reporters, Assam Chief Minister Hemant Biswa Sarma said the border dispute between Arunachal Pradesh and Assam is restricted now. Only 86 villages are disputed, unlike 123 villages earlier. He added that the Namsai Declaration will be sent to the Government of India for action. Arunachal Pradesh CM Pema Khandu called the meeting historic. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Friday urged political parties to refrain from making allegations without ascertaining facts. He was addressing sharp reactions from political parties to a circular issued by the Rajya Sabha Secretariat. The circular said demonstrations, dharnas, fasts or religious ceremonies cannot be held in the precincts of the Parliament House. Om Birla asserted that such circulars to members are a process that has been going on for years. The bulletin was issued by Rajya Sabha Secretary General PC Modi ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament beginning July 18th. It is said the kind of cooperation members are solicited in this matter.
2009 से ये प्रक्रिया चल रही है, उसके पहले भी प्रक्रिया चल रही थी, उसके सबके सर्कुलर जारी कर दिए। मेरा सभी राजनीतिक दलों से पुनः आग्रह है कि लोकसभा में या राज्य की विधानसभाओं में बिना तथ्यों के किसी भी तरह की राजनीतिक आरोप प्रत्यारोप से हमें बचना चाहिए।
Speaker of Lok Sabha Om Birla inaugurated the conference of presiding officers at the Parliament House complex. He urged political parties not to create disturbances during the address of the President and the Governor. He also expressed concern over the dwindling meetings of the legislatures. Om Birla asserted that debates and discussions in the legislatures should be dignified.
देश के अंदर लोकतांत्रिक संस्थाओं को सशक्त कर सके, मजबूत कर सके। ये लोकतांत्रिक संस्थाएं जवाबदेही से काम करें। इन लोकतांत्रिक संस्थाओं से के माध्यम से देश और प्रदेश की जनताओं की अपेक्षाएं, आकांक्षा पूरी हो।
Discussions were also held on the 65th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference to be held in Canada next month. The conference will discuss topics like the role of legislatures in climate change and environmental protection, bringing legislatures closer to the public, and women's participation in legislatures. MPs and MLAs will get ballot papers of different colors on July 18th when they vote for the next President of India. MPs will get papers in green while the ballot papers for MLAs will be in pink. The value of an MLA's vote depends on the population of the state he or she represents. The value of an MP's vote this time is 700. Draupadi Murmu is the NDA's candidate. Yashwant Sinha is the opposition's pick for the poll on Monday. Voting in presidential poll will be held in Parliament House and state assemblies. Counting will be held in Parliament House. Counting is on 21st of July. Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, has emerged as the best educational institution, while Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, is the best university in India Rankings 2022. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan on Friday announced the National Institutional Ranking Framework, or NIRF Rankings 2022. According to the rankings, IIM Ahmedabad is the best management institute in the country, followed by IIM Bangalore and IIM Calcutta. AIIMS New Delhi is the best medical college, and Savita Institute of Medical and Technical Sciences in Chennai is the best dental college. IIT Madras is the best engineering college, followed by IIT Delhi and IIT Bombay.
इक्कीसवीं सदी को एक ज्ञान आधारित नॉलेज बेस्ड इकोनॉमी की सेंचुरी कहा जाएगा। ऐसे सब दुनिया भर की एक्सपर्ट, दुनिया भर की थिंकर्स इस विषय में सहमत है कि इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन 4.0 की अनफोल्डमेंट मशीन पावर से नहीं होगा तो नॉलेज बेस्ड इनोवेशन एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में होगा।
The 75-day COVID vaccination Amrit Mahotsav began on Friday. All eligible people will be given free booster doses at the government COVID vaccination centers. The campaign is aimed at expediting the work of providing precautionary doses of COVID vaccine to eligible people above 18 years. The campaign is being organized under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandviya urged all eligible people to take precautionary doses.
देश के सभी नागरिकों को प्रिकॉशन डोज मुफ्त लगाने के लिए आज 15 जुलाई से 75 दिन तक फ्री किया है। देश के सभी 18 से अधिक उम्र के नागरिकों को मेरा आग्रह है कि आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के अवसर पर 75 दिन तक चल रहा इस अभियान में आप भी मुफ्त टीका लगाइए और कोविड के सामने आप अपनी सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करिए।
Heavy rains have caused massive destruction in South Gujarat and Saurashtra. In the last 24 hours, Valsad and Navsari districts and Gir Somnath district of Saurashtra region recorded substantial rainfall. There is a possibility of very heavy rain in the next 24 hours at some places in Navsari and Dang districts and at Amreli, Junagadh, Bhavnagar and Gir Somnath in Saurashtra. In Maharashtra, 102 people have died in rain-related incidents. Nearly 4,000 people from 20 villages have been shifted to relief camps. In Palghar district, vehicular movement was suspended on several roads due to the overflowing rivers. An orange alert has been issued for Palghar, Pune and Satara districts. In Andhra Pradesh, rise in water levels in Godavari River is threatening to submerge nearby villages. Water has crossed the third danger mark at the Sir Arthur Cotton Barrage near Raja Mahendra Varman. Now, let us look at some stories from the world of business and economy. G20 finance ministers met in Bali on Friday. Governors of G20 central banks were also at the summit. Discussions centered on opportunities for sustainable finance and energy and climate strategies. The meeting started with opening remarks of Indonesian Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati, who said food insecurity, energy prices and fuel shortages are the major issues at the meeting. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Friday said India's long-term growth prospects are embedded in public capital expenditure programs. She was attending the third G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting hosted by Indonesia in Bali. The minister added that evidence-based policy making is vital for resilient economic systems. The government has laid emphasis on capital expenditure to push economic growth hit by the pandemic. It is expected that the increase in public spending would crowd in private investment. Sitharaman also shared views on G20's health agenda, including pandemic preparedness and response mechanisms. China's economy contracted in the 3 months ending in June compared with the previous quarter after Shanghai and other cities shut down to fight coronavirus outbreaks. But the government said a stable recovery is underway after businesses reopened.
The world's second largest economy shrank by 2.6%, down from the January to March period's already weak 1.4%. Compared with a year earlier, growth slid to 0.4% from the earlier quarter's 4.8%. Pandemic controls shut down Shanghai, site of the world's busiest port, and other industrial centers in late March. Fueling concerns, global trade and manufacturing might be disrupted. Millions of families were confined to their homes, depressing consumer spending. Factories and offices were allowed to start reopening in May, but economists say it will be weeks or months before activity is back to normal. Growth for the first half of the year was 2.5% over a year earlier, one of the weakest levels in the past 3 decades. Retail sales were off 0.7% from a year earlier in the first half after plunging 11% in April. China rebounded quickly from the pandemic in 2020, but activity weakened as the government tightened controls on use of debt by its vast real estate industry, which supports millions of jobs. The ruling party has switched to quarantining individual buildings or neighborhoods with infections, but those restrictions covered areas with millions of people. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
The IMF says it is deeply concerned with the current situation of the Sri Lankan economy. It assured that it would work out a bailout package as soon as the situation there stabilizes. The IMF called for an early resolution of the crisis in Sri Lanka, which is battling an unprecedented political and economic turmoil. The BSE Sensex notched up 344 points, while the NSE Nifty gained 110 points on a day when markets remained volatile but closed with modest gains. Hindustan Unilever, Titan, Maruti and L&T were among major gainers, while Tata Steel, HCL Tech and Wipro were among top losers. World markets largely trended in the green, with US, European and most Asian markets making marginal gains of 1 to 2%. Markets in Hang Seng and Shanghai remained dull as both lost around 2%. Time for a break here. On the other side, PV Sindhu pulls off a thriller to advance into semi-final of the Singapore Open. Welcome back. Time now for some other global updates. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in as Sri Lanka's interim president Friday until Parliament elects a permanent successor to Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The Speaker of Sri Lanka's Parliament said Rajapaksa resigned as president on Thursday and lawmakers will convene Saturday to choose a new leader.
Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in as acting president of Sri Lanka before Chief Justice Jayanta Jayasuriya on Friday. Wickremesinghe pledged to maintain law and order and revive the 19th Amendment to the Constitution aimed at empowering Parliament over the executive president. He will be Sri Lanka's interim president until the House elects a successor to Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Rajapaksa, who is in Singapore, emailed his resignation to Speaker Abeyewardena, who accepted it on Friday. Addressing Parliament after his swearing-in, Wickremesinghe said, "The armed forces have been given the powers and the freedom to deal with any acts of violence and sabotage." He said, as acting president, his first task would be to revive the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The 19A adopted in 2015 pruned presidential powers by empowering Parliament above the executive president. However, the 19A was scrapped after Gotabaya Rajapaksa won the November 2019 presidential election. Speaker Abeyewardena told party leaders that Parliament will meet on the 20th of July to elect a new president. He said nominations will be called for the post of president on the 19th of July. Wickremesinghe will oversee functions, duties and powers of the office of the president until the constitutional procedure of electing the new president is over. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
India has said it stands with the people of Sri Lanka, where economic calamity has triggered widespread shortages of food, fuel and other necessities.
External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said India hoped for prosperity and progress in the country through democratic means and values.
Ensuring peace, stability and prosperity of all countries in the region, in our region, is an important aspect of neighborhood first policy as well as our vision for security and growth for all, that is Sagar. This is, in the case of Sri Lanka, clearly evident in the close and multifaceted relationship that we have with that country and the commitment we have demonstrated in helping the Sri Lankan people, address the challenges that are arising out of the current situation in that country.
Bagchi said India has extended aid worth $3.8 billion in the form of currency swaps, deferment of repayment of loans and credit assistance to import fuel, food, medicine, fertilizers and other essential commodities from India.
We responded with urgency to assist the people of Sri Lanka in overcoming the economic hardships. This year itself, as I mentioned, I think the previous week, India has expeditiously finalized and delivered assistance as well as support worth about $3.8 billion. This is in the form of currency swaps, deferment of repayment of Sri Lanka's liabilities to the Reserve Bank of India under the Asian Clearing Union mechanism, apart from, of course, credit assistance of about $1.5 billion for financing of imports of fuel, food, medicines, fertilizers, and other essential commodities from India.
Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And in news from other parts of the world, US President Joe Biden arrived for talks with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on Friday in Bethlehem in the West Bank. While he did voice his support for a Palestinian state, he did not float any new diplomatic initiatives during his visit. On a visit to a hospital, Biden announced $100 million in multi-year US assistance for East Jerusalem Hospital that serve Palestinians, which is subjected to approval by US Congress. The US House of Representatives passed an amended bill granting India special exemption from CAATSA sanctions for purchasing S-400 missile defense system from Russia. The amendment was passed on Thursday as part of an en bloc amendment. It was authored and introduced by Indian-American Congressman Ro Khanna. Italian Premier Mario Draghi's offer to step down was rejected by the president. Draghi said he will quit after a coalition ally of the government refused to support a key government bill that earmarked 26 billion euros to help consumers and industries struggling with soaring energy prices. Rejecting the resignation, Italy's president asked Draghi to find majority in parliament to support him. SpaceX launched its 25th cargo mission to deliver supplies to International Space Station. A robotic SpaceX Dragon cargo capsule CRS-25 lifted off atop a two-stage Falcon 9 rocket from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The Italian government has declared emergency in several northern regions because of a prolonged drought and heat wave. The Po River, a crucial artery for irrigation across the area of north-central Italy, has dried up. The region is a key producer and supplier of fruits, vegetables and grains to Europe. The drought followed unusually light precipitation during the winter that deprived mountains of fresh snowfall, which would normally feed rivers and reservoirs in summer. Time now for all the sporting action. Starting with badminton, PV Sindhu pulled off a thriller to advance into the semi-final of the Singapore Open Super 500 tournament. Third seed Sindhu overcame a strong challenge from Han Yue before getting the better of her Chinese rival 17-21, 21-11, 21-19. Saina Nehwal suffered a heartbreaking defeat in her quarter-final match. Saina squandered a game lead to go down 13-21, 21-15, 20-22 against left-hander Japanese Aya Ohori. In the men's singles, Indian challenge has ended at the Singapore Open with the loss of H.S. Pranoy in the quarterfinals. Pranoy won the first game, but Kodai Naraoka of Japan levelled in the second game before sealing the match 12-21, 21-14, 21-18. Reece Topley's 6 for 24 headlined a fine England bowling performance in a series-levelling 100-run win against India. England defended a modest target of 247, bowling out India for 146 in the second ODI at Lord's. Tokyo will stage the World Athletics Championships for the second time in 2025 after beating out competition from Kenya, Poland and Singapore. Tokyo offered a compelling bid, said World Athletics President Sebastian Coe. That's all we have in today's news. For more updates, keep watching Sansad Television. Good night.